Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel, and in this video we're going back to the basics once again, and today I'll be teaching you something very basic and very useful because this is one of the things you should know just in case of an emergency or something happens while you're on the road. Okay, so let's say you're on the road, your tire blows out or you get a flat tire, whatever the case may be. You're in the parking lot, you notice coming out you have a flat tire. You need to change it out. You have your spare wheel in the trunk, or at least you should. You're like, oh shit, I don't have time to wait for AAA to come in an hour, or I don't have AAA at all, or you don't have any towing services, or whatever the case may be. This is what you do. Usually in the trunk of your car, you should have some tools. If you don't, you should. If you don't have them, go get them, buy them, purchase them. They're pretty affordable. There's a lot of different kinds or different variations of those tools, but for today's video I'm just gonna use what I have here on hand because I mean you'll get the point. And today we'll be using this car as a guinea pig because it's here. So let's say you blow a tire, let's say this tire, you're on the road or you're in the house, flat tire. First things first, you need something to lift up the car. For that we have a jack. There's different kinds of jacks. There's bottle jacks, there's scissor jacks. They usually come in the car. Use what you have, especially in an emergency situation. If you're at home, try to use this one. Don't struggle with a bottle jack or scissor jack. Those kind of suck. They do sell smaller versions of these kind of bigger jacks. They do sell smaller versions of them. So I do recommend and I kind of suggest that you purchase one and just throw it in the trunk here. That way you don't struggle with the scissor jack. Trust me on this. Then we have this, and this I forget the name of it, to be honest, but this is pretty much used to take off the lug nuts. It's what holds the wheel and tire to the car, which are these things here. As you can see, we have 5 of them, and as you can see here, it's crossed, and this is basically a socket. So there's 4 different sizes here, which is awesome. This one's kind of broken on 2 of them, I believe, so this one's demonstration's purpose only. Again, use what you have. There's this kind. There's one that looks like a crowbar, and at one end they have, one of these sizes. Or if you have access to a ratchet and a socket here, like so, just use what you have, really. So now that you kind of have an idea of what the tools look like that you'll be using for this, let's go ahead and actually demonstrate how to lift the car up, remove the wheel, and the reverse order of that. Cool. We have our jack here. Now we're about ready to lift the car up, but you may be asking yourself, where do I lift it from specifically? Good question, because you don't just throw it in and just start jacking the car up without properly placing the base of your jack here to a specific spot on your vehicle. And the spot for this specific vehicle is going to be found right underneath here. As you can see, I mean, there is this little thin piece of metal, just kind of like I don't even know what it's called. It's part of the rocker panel, I'm assuming. I'm really bad at terminology here, but you can't really miss it. It's apparent because it's kind of like a lip. You can see here, you can't miss it. You can lift it up from here. Usually there is some kind of indentation like this here. This is usually where you lift it up from, like around here. This is one of the thicker spots. So you can use this to lift the vehicle. Just move a little bit. See there? You can kind of aim it and you lift. So for this demonstration, I am kind of simulating a road condition while you're on the road and not at your house. If you are at home, use jack stands. This is what a jack stand looks like. So this supports the vehicle's weight on this, like it falls on it. So if you're at home, once again, I strongly recommend you use jack stands, because you don't want to risk it and have that, fall down for whatever reason. There's different variations of a jack stand. They have this mechanism. They have, the ones that you kind of stick a piece of rod through them so you can grab a jack stand. And if you're asking yourself, okay, if I am at home, where do I lift the vehicle from if I don't lift it from that point you told me with the jack? Good question. This is where you lift it from. Obviously, different cars are gonna have different lift points, but for this specific car, the 2013 Chevrolet Cruze, this is where you lift it from. Or at least this is where I'll be lifting it from. Okay, so if we're home and we do use a jack stand as we should, since the jack stand would be positioned right there where the jack is at the current moment. We should lift the car, or I would lift the car instead of from there. I would go back here from behind the car and lift it from this point right around there. That right there, that's a solid point right there. It's a flat base right there. I would lift it from there. Some cars have differentials back here. Some people call them pumpkins or whatever. They kind of look like a pumpkin. It's like just like a big thing back there where that this flat spot is. But I would probably lift it from there, because that seems like a very solid place to place a jack and lift up the car. But once again, what I'm doing here is simulating a road condition when you're not at home. So let's continue. Okay, so now that we have our jack here in place, all we do now with the jack is turn it this way, but it would be clockwise. So we'll tighten up and just start pumping away, and it will start lifting the car up. Pump, pump. And all you're looking for here is for you don't have to lift it all the way up. You just need the wheel to clear the ground, which right here is it's off the ground. Okay, so now that the wheel is lifted up the ground and the wheel is free, now we're ready to take it off. Again, use whatever tool you may have on hand. And to take it off, I would definitely suggest you take off the lug nuts in the star pattern. So it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And just like you take them off in the star pattern, remember to reinstall them in the star pattern as well. So that way the wheel sits firmly in place to the vehicle. You don't have any funny business going on. As you can see, the wheel does spin freely, and if we're trying to take this off, we're gonna have a pretty hard time here because the wheel moves freely, as you can see here. So you can do a few things. In this case, you can either drop the vehicle down so the tire sits on the floor and it won't move, but just enough so it can not spin freely, and loosen them up then. Or if you have a second person in the vehicle, tell them to press on the brake pedal. That way the wheel here will lock in place, and then you'll be able to freely take the lug nuts off. Or if you're removing the rear wheel like we are here, there is a handbrake around the center console area that you can just pull up. That will lock the wheel as well. Or some of the cars have the emergency brake on the floor next to the other pedals, the gas, brake, clutch if you have it. Then there's an emergency brake there. You can just press that in and it'll do the same thing as a handbrake. It'll lock the wheels in place. Then you can remove the wheel. Once the wheel is in place and not rotating like this one, now you can go ahead and remove the lug nuts. Again, in the start pattern, this one, this one, this one, this one, and finally this one. You take the lug nuts off, then you can now remove the wheel. It'll just pretty much fall on you at that point. Now that you have removed the wheel and tire that are bad with the flat tire or the pop tire, whatever the case may be, simply replace it. Take the spare wheel and tire from your trunk that you should have and put it in place of the one we took out. Once you have the replacement wheel and tire on it, now go ahead and reinstall the lug nuts. First, you're gonna put them hand tight, make sure it sits properly to the base. Then you're gonna go ahead and tighten the lug nuts again in the star shape pattern. Tighten this one, this one, this one, this one, and finally this one. Again, star pattern. Doesn't really matter where you started from, as long as you do the star pattern. That way it'll sit nice and flush to where it needs to sit. It won't wobble. You'll be good to go. And if you're kind of doubting if it's sat flush or not, you can always grab the wheel and tire from the 12 and 6 position. Just pretty much move it back and forth, and the 9 and 3 position, move it again back and forth this way and that way. That way if it does jiggle, you know that the wheel isn't sitting right. So just make sure to do that, just so you can make sure that it's sitting properly on it. Once you have it tight, make sure you tighten them pretty damn good. They usually, for the torque specs, I usually do 65 to 70, so that's pretty tight. Obviously, if you don't have a torque wrench, you're not going to torque them. So just make sure they're tight, very tight. Congratulations, now you have replaced a wheel and tire. So now that you have it in place, already tightened up, star shape pattern, now you're simply ready to drop the vehicle down. Once you're ready to drop the vehicle down, you simply turn this handle counterclockwise. Turn it slowly and you should be coming down nice and smooth. And there you have it. Congratulations, you now have replaced wheel and tire. On a pop tire, flat tire, damage to a wheel, whatever the case may be, you now replaced it. You now know how to replace it at least. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Smash that like button if you found this video helpful. Consider subscribing for future videos. Follow us on Instagram, Los Menos Vera. See you guys next time. Peace.